Get this thing rocking and rolling.
Are we all? Are both of your under review and best of the booth quarterbacks?
Yes.
Same. I feel like that shows that we didn't watch much.
Even more of a fun fact: they're quarterbacks from the same school.
Ooh.
Which probably gives away who they are.
It doesn't. I have no idea.
Right.
I mean, it could be a lot, technically.
I mean, I guess, but you already know
there's all the Alabama guys.
Right. But what I'm saying is, like, you already know who my best of the booth is.
I already forgot, so
okay.
You're good.
Cool. Well, problem solved there.
Surprised. Well, even then, are you going Oklahoma or Alabama? Because it could be either one. Former teammates or not. I don't know.
Like, yeah, I guess. I guess.
Anyway.
I don't know. But yeah, this is like, I feel underprepared, and then I feel like I'm starting to get sick, which is not a fun feeling. Ooh. Yeah, it's like
better than doing it like in the middle of getting sick.
I mean, that is true, but like towards like the later part of the day into the afternoon, I started feeling that tickle in my throat. I was like, "Oh, I can already feel this coming." And now, like I would say over the last like 30 minutes to an hour, my head started hurting a little bit. So yeah, it'll be here.
Ugh.
Probably in the morning, which will be,
or maybe it'll just be like a light. Like I've occasionally felt like a tickle in my throat, and it hasn't like escalated.
That is true. Here's hoping.
Does my camera look the same or better? I have a new phone, so I didn't know if that.
Oh, you got a new phone. Give me a second, and I will.
I think it's the same.
I will overanalyze it more so than I have.
The screen is smaller because I ordered the wrong one and didn't want to have to go through all the pain of doing it again. And I was like,
after all the pain you had to go through the first time around.
It was so bad. And like it didn't even end. And when we were in North Carolina, like I came home and I was still dealing with it. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
Nah, that's garbage. All right. I think I'm ready to actually start.
Okay.
What's going on, everybody? Heading into week 14. Week 13's done. We're moving on. We're getting into the nitty-gritty of the season. What's going on? As always, I'm your host, Devin Primrose, joined by my brother from another mother, Mr. Blake Ivy. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. I'm finishing up school on Wednesday. Not like forever, but like for the semester.
Yeah.
So I've got that. So just slammed with final papers and just doing all that stuff.
All the fun stuff.
Yeah. So trying to balance that on top of my regular workload. It's a lot, but making it through short at a time. I was able to watch a good bit of football when I wasn't working on my paper on Sunday. I had at least the Falcons game up while I was watching, and then was heavily checking in on the other games throughout the day. So while I was working on an 8-page paper, I was also keeping up with football as best I could. So
that's admittedly more than I was able to watch. So it's just one of those weeks where like I didn't get to watch nearly as much as I expected to. Just plans changed on Sunday, and so that happens. And I mean, I enjoyed what I was doing. It wasn't a bad thing that plans changed. It just I wasn't able to sit in front of a TV for 12 hours. But
7 hours of commercial-free football.
Yeah, it is what it is. I tried to catch up some on some of the highlights. I tried to pay attention to scores as I could. I'm always gonna be checking my fantasy teams.
Of course.
So, I'm throwing.
How did you do in the sleeper league this week? How'd you do?
I actually have not checked to see who won that matchup.
I did. Just for the record, I won. That's why
I knew it was
wouldn't
close.
have asked otherwise.
I knew it was close.
It was. You were projected to beat me for a long time, and then I pulled ahead, and so I'm still could sneak into the playoffs in that one.
Yeah, my chances are done.
In both leagues, I am like on the outside looking in, but I'm waiting. If anybody slips up, I'm in.
I desperately in the deep keeper league that we're in that is ridiculous. I have been needing every win that I could get, and every single week I'm projected to be within like 2 or 3 points, and I'm feeling good, and it's looking good for most of the day, and then just something happens, and the other team like scores like 30 more points than me. It's like
I feel like cool, I play one of the like week's top performers every week in that league. It's like whoever got the most fantasy points was the one who was playing me. That's how I feel in that league. Is every single week it feels that way.
That's been the story of my life in the sleeper league because which I'm just going to call that the Booth Review League because it kind of is. I'm the commissioner and most of our listeners or a lot of our listeners are in that league with us.
Well, a lot of the people in that league are listeners. We'll put it that way.
There we go. That's a better way to phrase it. But I have the most points against me in that league out of the entire league by like 300 points. It's like not even close. Yeah, I've just gotten demolished. It's like I'm not having bad weeks. I'm just getting demolished by whoever I play every single week. So, that's just story of my life. Is what it is. Luckily I got that elusive championship last year, and I'm just gonna go from first to maybe worst. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, man, it was a good weekend, just not as football filled as I was hoping it would be. Had another disc golf tournament.
Yeah.
Say it went better than the last one, but
you were doing so good for so long.
Listen,
and then the bogeyman got you.
If you take away 3 holes, I shot 1 over. That's a decent day. Yeah, those 3 holes, I shot 8 over. 7 strokes from 3 holes. It was brutal. And one of them I was just like mentally checked out by that point. The other 2, it was like just bad luck. I just got like bad tree kicks and then just couldn't get out of the woods, and it was rough. But that's the way it goes sometimes. 1 round, so you didn't have a chance to make it up in a second or third round. So it is what it is. It's all good though.
Yeah. Hey, you'll get there. You're getting there. You got to get the nerves out.
I feel like every single tournament they're all similar score, at least like placement wise in the group. But I do feel like I'm getting better with each one. Like I can take away something that I'm getting better at with each one. So like I felt like I played really good, consistent disc golf for the first like 11 holes. Even really the first 12
I kept checking in, and I was like, man, he's crushing it.
Yeah, it was.
You were in like
good,
like 7th, like tied for 7th for a long time.
Yeah,
with like you were 1 over. I think.
Yeah. It, like I said, it felt good for the first 11 or 12 holes, and then just a couple of holes did me in. But that is what it is. Yeah. Who you got best of the booth this week?
Best of the booth. Listen, man, I want to go. I just listen. Okay, didn't have a spectacular day. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it and say this is not based on best per overall performance, right? This guy's not getting any MVPs. This is not. He's not going to win the player of the week in anywhere. But I had to go Brock Purdy.
Ooh. See, I almost wish that you had gone second for best of the booth at this point, but that's okay. That's a little spoiler alert for who my under review is.
Okay. Yeah. So for me, I went Brock Purdy. To me, it's just incredible. Like he was Mr. Irrelevant. The one draft pick that gets a name. None of the other ones get a name. They don't name any of the other draft picks. But the last guy taken in the NFL draft is named Mr. Irrelevant. Brock Purdy. And listen, I even didn't do enough. Like, who? Do you have any idea where he went to school?
Iowa State.
Okay,
I'm fairly certain it was Iowa State. I know that
doesn't even sound like a real college.
I know that going into Iowa State. I know that going into that his last year, maybe even his last 2 years, he was one of the like fringe quarterback prospects. Like he wasn't up there with like the top, but he was like this guy could make a solid NFL quarterback if everything goes right. And then he kind of had 2 subpar years. They weren't spectacular years, and so he kind of kept falling and falling.
Yeah, so I mean, he went 25 of 37, had 2 touchdowns. He did have a pick, but he also threw for 210 yards. It's just a solid day for a guy who was like this close to being undrafted.
Yeah.
Like he was the closest you can go to being undrafted without actually being undrafted. And he steps in for a pretty rough Jimmy G injury. Now, I don't think this is what we're going to see from Brock Purdy every week.
Yeah.
Because, once teams start to game plan for him, watch his film, see what his strengths and weaknesses are, it's going to be a lot harder for him to come out and do this. But I mean, that's huge. Like you come out and it wasn't like he was playing against the Texans. He was playing against the Dolphins, which a top 5 power rank team by most people's standards. And he comes out and it was like, oh man, honestly, when that happened, I was like, are you kidding me? That was one of the games we disagreed on. And I was like, I'm going to lose this game because Jimmy Garoppolo got injured.
Yeah.
No, like Brock Purdy came in and he didn't lose them the game. And to me, that was incredible. Like that you were Mr. Irrelevant. He probably thought coming into the season, there's no way he's going to get playing time behind Trey Lance and Jimmy G.
Right.
And so, I don't want to say he made the most of it, but he did well enough to get his team the win against one of the top teams in the AFC.
Yeah.
So props to Brock Purdy, best of the booth. Great game. Great job staying composed, not letting the pressure get to him, and executing the game plan to the point where he got a win.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. I don't think this is what we're going to, be accustomed to seeing moving forward with him. I think that it's probably more so a case of what you always say, backup quarterbacks come in, they tend to look good that first week. And then, as there's tape out there on them, as you know what you're going to face, defenses figure you out pretty quickly. But luckily, I did see a day. I know initial reports on Sunday were that Jimmy G would be out for the rest of the season. But I did see today that there is hope that he will be back for the playoffs, or could return in the playoffs, which would be.
He avoided Lisa Frank. You remember the old, those old the girls,
one,
the art one,
We listen. We both have sisters.
He almost injured his Lisa Frank, but he didn't. Apparently, he dodged injuring his Lisa Frank, which would have been really bad for anyone who likes bright colors and ponies. So,
yeah. I mean. That's huge for that team though, because San Francisco definitely has a talented enough roster to make a run, and if they can get Garoppolo back in the playoffs, I think that will be huge. Although, who knows what kind of shape he's going to be in? This could be the end of the season for them as far as a Super Bowl run, but we'll see. Yep. Man, I almost want to do my under review, but I'll just do mine back to back.
Okay. Yeah.
My best of the booth. I'm gonna make it quick and short because that's pretty much what this game was. I have Jalen Hurts of the Philadelphia Eagles as my best of the booth. I, for some reason, made the dumb mistake of saying that the Titans are gonna win this game.
You did.
It was 21-10 at half because Titans couldn't do anything. Couldn't stop Jalen Hurts. And this is the kind of game that, honestly, I've been wanting to see from Jalen Hurts. Just a nice, top-level passing performance, which he's had a handful throughout his career. I would say this is probably the best one that he's had. 29 of 39, which is 74% completion percentage, 380 yards, 3 touchdowns, and another rushing touchdown on the ground. A pair of 100-yard receivers in Devontae Smith and was it Devontae? I think it was Devontae. Let me just double check that. Yeah, Devontae Smith and AJ Brown both getting over 100 yards. Just a well-rounded passing effort, and that's kind of been my knock on Jalen Hurts for most of his career, is that I don't think he's the strongest passer, but he has definitely stepped it up this year and absolutely this game. And I gotta say, maybe Jalen Hurts for MVP at this point. I mean, I think he might be. A lot of people are saying Patrick Mahomes. I could make an argument for Joe Burrow after that game on Sunday. But I think Jalen Hurts is right up there with him. I mean, at least in the top 3 consideration for MVP on the season. He has just shy of 3,000 yards, 20 touchdowns to just 3 picks. He is 4th in total QBR at 69.2. I think that he's just having an incredible season with, an incredible team, and who knows how it's going to end for them, but it definitely looks like they're in the running for the big championship for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's I came into this season knowing that Jalen Hurts did we both talk about him being a top 5 QB, or was that like I was there and you were like, I'm not sure?
You were there. That was one of our early legit or counterfeits. I think it was probably like week 3. Is Jalen Hurts a top 5 quarterback? And I haven't been there, and it's still. I think now I would struggle to find 5 guys I would put over him. But I still don't want to definitively say he is top 5. I think he is very, very, very close. It's still tough to me, man. But I think he's up there with the, Mahomes and Allen and Burrow. And those
honestly,
guys.
I think
he's right there with them.
Right, this year, I think I'd put him above Josh Allen.
Yeah, Josh Allen's had a struggle. That's fair. That'd be fair. Yeah,
I think the only QBs who I think could have a legitimate argument about being above him would be Tua, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
And even then, Joe Burrow, he got off to a slow start, but
yeah,
I mean, Joe Burrow was 25 of 31 on Sunday.
Yeah, very good day.
Surgical.
Very good day in their biggest game of the season.
Yeah.
I think the Bengals are showing why they won the AFC last year.
Yeah.
And they're without Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
They're without their best running back. Yeah.
It's crazy. And Jamar Chase just got back, Yeah.
Yeah. So. Speaking of Tua, I'm glad you brought up that name. My under review comes from the same school as Jalen Hurts. Both of these guys were at one point Alabama dudes before Jalen went off to Oklahoma.
Tua took his job.
And on Sunday, in another high-key matchup against San Francisco 49ers, could not quite live up to the hype. It is. Part of me feels bad for putting Tua under review because he was facing an incredibly good defense in the San Francisco 49ers.
Right.
But star quarterbacks put up good performances against good defenses. They go out there and they they might falter some, but they find a way to keep that team in the game and or win the game. And Tua did that a decent amount. He didn't have an awful game, but this is not what we have grown accustomed to seeing from him this year. Tua went 18 of 33 for 54% completion percentage, which is pretty bad. I would say this was his most inaccurate game this year. 295 yards, though, 2 touchdowns, did have 2 picks. I want to say at least one of those was a bad throw into double coverage. I think the other one sailed the receiver and just landed in the hands of the defender. So 2 bad throws there. And then he had the strip sack fumble by Nick Bosa there at the the end of the game that resulted in a touchdown. But going down to the final seconds, it was 23-17 or 26-17, I believe. They were still very much in it, and then the strip sack happened, put them out of it. So Tua didn't have a terrible day, but like, you've got to step up and play better in these kinds of matchups. When you're in the AFC, you're going to be facing some tough defenses playing in January. You're going to face defenses like the Jets, like the Bills. Those are not easy defenses to beat. And I don't think San Francisco is necessarily that much better than those two defenses, especially. And so you've got to learn how to play against those guys. Like I said, I feel kind of bad putting him under review, but at the same time, I think this says a little bit about Tua, and hopefully he takes it as a little bit of a lesson. Take a step back, learn some things from it, move forward, and hopefully he can step up his game. Like I said, in January when you're playing the playoffs and facing those top tier defenses.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm not worried about him.
Yeah, but you're right. You do have to. I don't know. Maybe it was just a bad week to have a bad game.
Yeah.
He hasn't really had a bad game all season.
Right.
He's been surgical.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that, had a bad week, and we'll see how he bounces back. And if he's able to kind of make adjustments that help him against these top-notch defenses going forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, my under review. I've been waiting. I texted you when we were asking. We like to keep it somewhat surprised. So we usually only know one of the other person's best of the booth or under review. But I needed this. I needed this to happen this week. It was what the nation were watching for. What the nation was watching for. That's what I meant to say. You had on Sunday the return of Deshaun Tickle Me Watson, Deshaun Watson, old masseuse on the loose, and he looked like a bum. That's what he looked like. He looked like a bum. He was exposed for the fact that he hadn't played football in 2 years? 2 years. Man hasn't played football, and the Cleveland Browns, which that is just less and less surprising to me. The Cleveland Browns handed him the keys to the franchise and $250 million. But they can't get back. They can't. It's done. They might as well have just signed the check and handed it to him in that moment. You get this money regardless of what happens over the next, 6 years, 5 years that they signed him for? On
Something
Sunday,
like that, yeah.
he had a whopping QBR of 28.5. He went 12 for 22, which is 54% completion percentage, no touchdowns, 1 interception, and 131 yards. 131 yards. Frame of reference, Josh Jacobs ran for more yards than old Tickle Me Watson threw for on Sunday. He was bad. He was real bad. And I was happy to see it. And you know what? You talked about Tua. He was playing a good defense. Deshaun, he did have it rough. He had to come back, play his former team. And everybody's scared of this Houston Texans defense. They're just so good at everything. And so it makes sense that he would have had a terrible game. Did their team win? Yes, sure. But he had absolutely nothing to do with it. He was not helpful, that's for sure. Who was helpful? Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. That was who was helpful, and their defense, who had a touchdown on the day. So, anyway, not putting him under review because I think he's already on several lists that he's going to have to be on for the rest of his life. But Deshaun Watson, I'm just happy that he had a terrible week. We're really looking forward to watching him just suck forever. And for us to watch Jacoby Brissett on the sidelines be like, why am I not here? Why am I here? Why am I not out there? So, yep. Screw you, Deshaun Watson. You're human garbage. That's how I'm going to end that segment. I got to go check on Zeke. He's having some struggles. Apparently, one of the kids in his class moved today, and so he's really sad about it right now at bedtime.
Okay.
I guess, when we're all reflective.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
All right, no worries. Mm-hmm. Ooh.
Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good.
He's just a soft-hearted kid.
So before we move on to legit or counterfeit, I do feel like I should point out that there was a point in time in which you were at least mildly excited about the idea of Deshaun Watson being an Atlanta Falcon.
And that's a fair point to bring up. That's a very fair point to bring up. Let me explain the emotional roller coaster that is my feelings towards Deshaun Watson, right? So at that point, it was kind of like we thought that everything had been settled, as far as like his allegations.
Right.
And then more and more started coming out. And I was really glad in the moment that we didn't get him, because it's like, I don't want to have to root for this guy. But I think what I was most excited for was like the new era of the Atlanta Falcons. And it's like, okay, we're going to move on from Matt Ryan, because being a fan of the Falcons with Matt Ryan as the quarterback was, it's like a ticking time. It's like the clock was ticking. Like we knew how many more years of elite Matt Ryan play do you have, if you even wanted to call what he was putting out of the field at that point elite. And so it was like, okay, we're about to turn the page to a new chapter of being the Falcons. Deshaun Watson was a top 5, but I was also in all of that, I was already like, are we about to give this guy $200 million and we're not even sure he can still play? Like, I was still concerned that it's like anybody who misses as much time on the NFL field as he missed.
Right, yeah.
There's a little bit of worry. Le'Veon Bell was never the same as when he left. He was like, you know what? I'll prove to everybody I can leave and come back. Melvin Gordon, same thing. They just, you take that much time off, it can, it's hard to come back from that. And so I was already like hesitantly excited about it. But then, just really just glad that I don't have to have that guy. It's the same way I feel about Marcell Ozuna for the Braves. That like, he's a terrible human being, a garbage piece of a human being. I hope that every time he gets up to bat, that he strikes out. But because I love the Braves, I'm going to cheer when he hits a home run because the Braves scored. I'm not cheering for Marcell Ozuna ever.
Right.
And so, it's a hard thing to do as a fan, and I feel bad for fans of the Browns that have to be in this situation, that they're either trying to defend Deshaun Watson or constantly just hearing Deshaun Watson jokes. Because like the fans didn't do this, like they didn't have a vote in it. Right. They're the victims. And anybody who understands being a fan and a victim, it's Browns fans. Like they've just always been victims. They're just gluttons for punishment. And so, it's hard to root for the guy, but you're always going to root for your team.
Yeah.
So I get it, but as far as how I'm always going to refer to this creepy scum of a human is never going to be in a positive light. I don't care if he's leading the league in passing yards, touchdowns, and completion percentage. I'm still going to talk about how terrible of a human being he is, unless he can like apologize and like try to move forward. Like that's the other thing to me, is it's like I probably wouldn't rag on him so hard if he had been like, hey, I made a lot of mistakes, I'm gonna take ownership and I want to move on. But he's just like, I didn't do nothing, I don't care what anybody says. Let's just pretend it never happened. I'm a good football player.
That would be the best thing for, I feel like, everybody, if he would just come out and be like, hey, I screwed up, I take responsibility for my actions, I just want to move past this, I'm sorry. But he hasn't done that, and that's the biggest. I think that was a big reason why a lot of people within the NFL wanted a longer suspension, and there's still plenty of people that thought that 11 games or whatever it came down to, 12 games, however many, wasn't enough. And who knows? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with him moving forward. I think that he probably will return to form. Will he be top 5 again? Who knows? But could he be borderline top 10? I think so. And I think there's enough talent on that Browns team to support that. But it doesn't make it easy to root for the guy. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Speaking of quarterbacks, we've been quarterback heavy.
Yeah.
Like a Panthers locker room. We are quarterback heavy. And I'm gonna keep it quarterback heavy by bringing up our legit or counterfeit for the day.
All right.
Legit or counterfeit? The Baltimore Ravens should let Lamar Jackson walk in the offseason. Legit or counterfeit?
So I feel like this question would be a lot easier if they had a solid plan B. Like if they had a scenario like a Rodgers and Love scenario. You know,
or like a quarterback who's completed 67% of his passes since he's been in the NFL. Like Tyler Huntley.
Sure. We'll see. The problem is, I don't think Tyler Huntley is a QB1. It's very similar feelings to like Jacoby Brissett. Like Brissett shows you flashes of brilliance at times, and there's plenty of times where he's like, yeah, this is not a quarterback one. And I feel similarly about Tyler Huntley. Although Huntley has performed when he's had to for that team when Lamar has been injured, as he seems to be almost every season at this point. And I think a lot of that is probably due to his style of play. That's such a tough question, man. It's the guy that's won MVP. He won it. He was MVP for a reason.
So did Cam Newton.
Yeah, I know.
So are you? I mean, he wants Deshaun Watson money, which makes sense because he's never, as far as we know, molested anyone. So, I think that for him to want $250 million guaranteed outside of his MVP season, like if you took away his MVP season, which I know is like not a great thing to do, would you pay that guy $250 million?
No.
You
and honestly, it would be tough for me to pay the MVP Lamar Jackson because, again, so much of that MVP was because of his style of play. And so, just like Cam Newton, when Cam Newton's MVP season it was his style of play. He played it for a full, 16 games.
Yeah.
And he was top-notch Cam Newton the entire time. That's the way Lamar was his MVP year. And knowing that play style often leads to injuries, as we have seen multiple times throughout the NFL with multiple different guys, I'd struggle to pay that guy $250 million. I don't think that if the Ravens keep Lamar, they should 1,000% not pay him that. And I would bet that some team out there probably will.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that they're idiots.
I think Atlanta would. Could you imagine Lamar Jackson in Arthur Smith's offense? That would be incredible. Listen, I would love it.
It would be if he can stay healthy.
Yes, I'm with you.
But Atlanta will have the money to do so.
Yep. Yeah, they will. Would I be okay with it? Absolutely, because anything's better than Marcus Mariota.
So what was the phrasing of the question? Just so I know
my legit or counterfeit is that the Ravens should let Lamar walk.
Golly, I'm gonna say legit. Man, well, like letting him walk means that you're not even willing to negotiate.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, like at his asking price, which I think that they had offered him $200 million, and he said no.
Right, he bet on himself, and it looked good for about 3 weeks.
So if he's still not willing to sign at that $200 million mark, and he wants more,
if he wants more, then absolutely let him walk. But I do think that the Ravens almost have to go into the offseason being willing to negotiate. However, that doesn't mean, overpay for a guy.
Right.
Go in with a firm number that if his wants and desires exceed that, then let him go. Say, okay, we're done doing this, and hope that either quarterback falls in the draft, or there's some decent quarterbacks coming up in college.
Listen,
so
man,
over the next couple seasons, you could go get you a solid one.
I firmly believe that guys like Jacoby Brissett, guys like Tyler Huntley are good enough to be your quarterback if you can build around them.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And again, I think a good example of that is like your Taylor Heinicke type guy. The Taylor Heinicke he's probably should not be a QB1. Right. But the way that he's being used currently, they're making it work. So I do agree with that. I think that
Tyler Huntley is better than Taylor Heinicke. I'm
not going to 100% disagree with that. I think I personally like Heinicke more just because of the passion and the fire that he plays with. But Huntley might be more talented. Brissett might be more talented.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all about how you use those guys. And I'm not opposed to if the Ravens want to let Lamar walk, give Huntley a year, see what you have. At worst, if he doesn't have the goods, you're gonna finish with probably a 3 or 4 win type season, and you're gonna have a high draft pick. You're gonna be able to go out and get a quarterback of your choosing, probably in the draft. And if he does have the goods, well, problem solved.
So here's my thing. When you're looking at the Ravens, you take Lamar Jackson off that team, what do they have? Mark Andrews.
Very, very good tight end.
And
yeah,
nothing else. They don't have a great offensive line. Their running game is bad. Very bad.
Their running game's bad because they are always dealing with running back injuries.
Which maybe they need a new medical staff.
Yeah, between Dobbins and Edwards. They have a handful of decent receivers. Rashad Bateman, I still think has a lot of talent, but he's also been injured. Yeah, there's not much. There's not much, that's for sure.
There's not much, especially on the offensive side, but even on the defensive side, I mean, you've got some studs at key pieces, but then a huge drop off everywhere else. That it's I just think this team has too many holes to spend $250 million on a quarterback. They're not a quarterback away. You know what I'm saying? And when you pay a guy that much, you are tying one hand behind your back as far as what else you're going to be able to do outside of draft and develop, which is not an easy thing to do in the NFL, and most teams struggle with it. So to say when you're the Packers, you're like, hey, our defenses are already really good. It doesn't really matter who we have at receiver with Aaron Rodgers. Our running game is really good. We can afford to sign him. If you're the Kansas City Chiefs, we've got Tyreek Hill. We've got Travis Kelce. It doesn't really matter who is behind those guys. We've got a good enough defense. Patrick Mahomes is the guy. Give him whatever he wants.
Right.
But if you're a team that is at the bottom of your roster is at the bottom of the league, you're stepping into a hard spot just saying, all we need is a quarterback,
Offensively, I agree with that. I think the defense has a lot of talented players.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think that part of their struggles over the last couple seasons has just been injuries. I don't think that this is necessarily a terrible roster. Although, like you say, take away Lamar, especially on the offensive side, that offense is pretty thin. But the defense, I think, is solid.
Yeah, I like Huntley. Every time I've seen him in, I'm like, what's wrong with this guy? This guy's solid. Again, he's not I'm not like Atlanta Falcons. Go get Tyler Huntley. Whatever. I mean, if they had him, I don't think he'd be worse than Marcus Mariota.
100% would not be.
But he's I don't know. I just think that your organization is not in a bad spot if you let Lamar go and build other things.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Like, if anything, I think the worst thing it does is for your fan base. But even then, from what I know of that fan base, they're kind of done with Lamar and his inability to stay healthy, his kind of cocky attitude as far as not wanting to sign a $200 million contract because he wants 250, and which I get because it was the same way I felt with Julio. That it's like, get over yourself, man.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you this: if they're not gonna spend $50 million a year on Lamar Jackson, you better put that $50 million to use and go give Tyler Huntley some weapons to succeed with.
Yes.
Go get him a star wide receiver, or at least a top tier wide receiver, and go get him, some help on the offensive line. And probably find a running back too. One that can stay on the field.
Is injured all the time. Yeah, I think that they're better off letting him walk. And the hard thing is that they can, I think they can franchise tag him one more time. Because they can franchise tag him. He's playing on the last year of his contract, right?
I think so.
We get into contract stuff and we get lost. We don't.
I can find out real quick.
Okay, he's currently playing on his 5th and final year of his rookie deal.
But how much is the tag gonna be? Like, how much are you gonna pay him on the tag? That's the question.
So right now the franchise tag is $29 million for a quarterback.
It's that's a pretty penny.
I mean, yeah, but like, if you can't get a deal done with, I don't know. I hate the franchise tag. I think it's terrible. It almost never results in your player coming back. So I say let him go. Build around Huntley, or at least give Huntley more support. And then if you want to draft a QB, you could draft a QB. But Lamar's just injured so often, and he's about to cost a whole lot of money that could put you in a big time bind for years.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that.
But I would love him in Atlanta.
With you, I think that in Arthur Smith's offense, he could be used very well. And they already have some key pieces there between Drake London and Kyle Pitts. Yeah, that's a sneaky good destination for sure.
Yep. I saw someone tweeted the other day and said Atlanta Falcons 2023 mock draft. Pick number 1, traded for Lamar Jackson. Pick number 2, traded for Lamar Jackson. It went all the way through all 7 picks. It's like, just give the Ravens our draft class. Let us have Lamar Jackson. And I don't know that I would be against that. Other than we need help on defense.
Yeah, definitely do. Well, let's move on to week 14. And I say it's time.
Getting picky with it. Getting picky with it. Getting picky with it. Getting picky with it.
Do you happen to know what our records are?
Nope.
All right. Cool.
Still don't. Still don't. I can go back to like week. Nope. Even week, whatever I have, week 12. Nope.
It's all good. It's all good. I
Yeah.
know that I got real spicy with it last week, and
Oh, I know that last week we disagreed on 6 games,
mhm,
and that
mhm.
we each went 3-3 in said games.
Checks out.
Because we
I really-
disagreed on Bills and Patriots, and I was wrong. We disagreed on Falcons Steelers. I was wrong. Disagreed on Jets Vikings. You were wrong.
I don't feel bad
Disagreed on
about that
Titans,
pick.
Eagles. You were wrong. Disagreed on Dolphins Niners. You were wrong. Disagreed on Chiefs Bengals. I was wrong.
I don't feel bad about my Jets pick. Jets put up a fight. They showed a little bit of life. Vikings are ultimately
They did.
better. But I don't feel bad about that one. I do feel really bad about the Titans one.
I mean, I picked the Patriots to beat the Bills, and they got thumped.
Yeah, you should also feel pretty bad about that.
Yep.
Bengals Chiefs, what I would say about like what we probably both expected. Very close game.
It was, but I
Yeah.
definitely thought that the Chiefs were gonna kind of walk through that one.
I'm telling you, man, the Bengals are getting hot at the right time, man. That team started the season 0-2. They've gone 8-2 since then.
To start getting picky with it.
Yeah.
Our bye week teams are the Falcons, Bears, Packers, Colts, Saints, and Commanders. So both of my team and your former team, the teams that we are closest to having allegiances to, are both out this week. So we just get to sit back and watch stress-free football, which is the best way to spend a bye week. Stress-free football. Also, in other news, there have been 2 teams who have been eliminated from playoff contention. Do you have any guesses?
I know one's the Texans.
Yep, that was a pretty easy one.
I think the other one's the Bears.
Correct. Those
Yeah.
are the 2 teams that have been eliminated from the playoffs.
Yeah.
So they've been eliminated mathematically. There are several clinching scenarios. These much more likely than the crazy ones last week. This week in the AFC, the Kansas City Chiefs can clinch the AFC West with a win from them and a Charger loss. The Chargers need to lose on Sunday for the Chiefs to clinch the division. If they do that and Kansas City wins, then they have clinched the division. In the NFC, the Vikings can clinch their division if they win or tie. They've clinched their division, playoff spot locked up. The Eagles also can clinch a playoff berth if they win or tie, or if they lose and San Francisco loses and Seattle loses, then they clinch a berth, which is
Interesting.
very weird.
Interesting to me that they still have not. At 11-1, they haven't clinched a spot. But I guess the math checks out.
I guess.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, the wild card race in the NFC is tight.
Yeah, but it's really only like, I feel it's tight, but I feel like it's really like a 3-team race. Like there's 8 teams in the NFC that are over 500, and if you're under 500 at this point in the season, I feel like you're out of it. Like the Lions and the Falcons and the Packers are still technically all still in the hunt, but they're 2 games, technically 2.5 games out because the Commanders got that tie.
Well, that's because the Falcons can win their division,
right?
And
yeah,
potentially still be under 500.
Right.
So, like, that's the only reason that they're still in it.
But as far as the Lions and the Packers, I feel like their seasons are done. I mean, they would have to win out and get lucky with a couple of losses for the Commanders or the Seahawks or the Giants.
Yeah.
But that really, I feel like that tie on Sunday between the Commanders and Giants almost assures those 2 teams to be in wild card spots, because that tie gives you that half game extra, which they're sitting pretty good already at 7 wins with 2 games over all those other teams. And when you add that half game to it, that's only going to help them. So we'll see what happens over the next 5 weeks, but I feel like that tie is going to be important.
Yep. Potentially. You know what tie isn't important? The Texans Colts tie.
Not important at all.
Doesn't matter to anybody.
Doesn't matter at all. Starting us off on Thursday night over on Amazon, we have the Las Vegas Raiders coming off a win over the Chargers on Sunday, heading out to SoFi in LA to take on the Los Angeles Rams and potentially, I don't know how this would happen, how we would make this quick of a start, but potentially Baker Mayfield getting some game action on Thursday night. That's the latest report I saw. For those that don't know, Baker Mayfield is now a Los Angeles Ram. The Carolina Panthers waived him, and the Los Angeles Rams picked him up. Makes sense because they're dealing with the Matt Stafford injury issues and John Walford as their starting quarterback. And we all know that John Walford is not a starting caliber quarterback. Baker Mayfield might be. Jury's still out on that. But I actually think this is an interesting landing spot for him because if that Stafford injury is as serious as it potentially could be,
Right.
next year you could be looking at him missing time as well. I believe it wasn't a spinal contusion. Is that what he's dealing with? Something
Allegedly.
like that. Yeah. Which, I think that Peter posted in the Discord about it, and like one of the last guys that had a similar issue was Ryan Shazier for the Steelers.
I think it was actually Shane who posted it.
Oh yeah, it might have been Shane. And like Shazier dealt with paralysis from that.
Yeah.
And so if it's anywhere near that kind of severity, then this could be a real problem for Stafford moving forward. And if you get Baker in there, Baker plays 4 or 5 games, you see what it looks like. The Rams don't have their first round pick next year. The Rams' first round pick is Detroit Lions. So the Lions are going to have a top 5 pick because of how bad Los Angeles is doing.
That's true.
And you're not going to have your choice of a quarterback in the draft. Now, one might still fall to you in the second round, but you could be looking at needing a quarterback for next season if Stafford isn't available, if he's not able to make the recovery from this. And if you get Baker in there, see what he's got 4 or 5 games in McVay's system, I don't think that's a terrible idea. I'm not saying that Baker's going to be anything special for them, but we'll see. It's worth a try. I get where they're coming from in that front office. I don't think it's a bad move. All that to say,
yeah,
the Vegas Raiders are 6-point favorites, as they should be, even with as bad as that team has been. They're not as stinky poo-poo as this Rams team. I'm going with the Raiders. I have no choice. Who you got, man?
Same. Yeah, I'm going with the Raiders. I feel bad that Aaron Donald came back, that he was considering retirement after he won the Super Bowl.
Should have retired.
And he really just should have. He should have been like, man, why am I even doing this anymore? He could have been a borderline Hall of Famer in the short time he's already played. So, but yeah, give me the Raiders in this one, which is weird that, before the season, I did have these 2 teams, I think, in the bottom of this division. And wait, they're in different divisions. Never mind. Listen, all the West teams, they're all the same to me.
These 2 divisions were supposed to be the best in football. They were both supposed to be really good.
I did try to tell you on both of these teams that they were not playoff teams.
I mean, that's fair.
I did say that.
That is fair.
So I might have had the Rams sneaking in, but I know that I had the Raiders bad, and I was correct on that.
Yeah.
Nailed it. So I'm just going to toot my own horn on that whenever I can. So one of the 3 things I got right on the season. So, yeah. Give me the Raiders.
Yeah.
I probably won't watch much of this game.
Yeah, I'm with you. There's not much to watch. I mean, I guess the Raiders still technically could make the playoffs if they win out and everything, goes their way, but that's not going to happen. We all know that. They're 5-7 for a reason. They're not good.
No.
Josh McDaniels is a failure of a head coach and should get fired, but they can't afford to fire him. That's how bad Vegas manages their money. Almost fitting that they moved to Vegas.
It is.
Just flushing the money down the drain.
Yep. Bad gamble on head coach there.
Let's move over to Sunday. Starting us off at 1 p.m. over on CBS, we have the Baltimore Ravens without Lamar Jackson for at least the next 1 to 3 weeks is the last report I saw. He is dealing with 8 hours ago, Adam Schefter reported that Jackson has been diagnosed with a PCL sprain in his left knee, which will require 1 to 3 weeks in order to recover. So, presumably, we're going to see Tyler Huntley in this one, facing off against Kenny Pickett and the Pittsburgh Steelers, getting the win over the Falcons on Sunday. Interestingly, despite the 3-game difference in their records, the Steelers are 2.5-point favorites. Makes sense. It's a home game. You're without your best player offensively in Baltimore and Lamar Jackson. I've got the Steelers getting the win on this one. Again, I think that I'm interested to know your take on Pickett. I don't think he played spectacularly on Sunday, but I don't think he played bad either against the Falcons. And it is the Falcons. It's Falcons defense that is not great, but has shown at times throughout the season to be a little frisky at times, but they're not good. Yeah. But I'm interested to know what you thought about how he performed.
Yeah. I mean, this is a Falcons team that outside of AJ Terrell doesn't really scare many people in terms of the pass game. Pat Freiermuth had a great game.
Mm-hmm.
Falcons are going to give it up a lot to tight ends because they don't really have any linebackers outside. And AJ Terrell was an absolute blanket on George Pickens.
Yeah.
I think he had 1 catch for 14 yards, something like that. He was not very efficient at all. And was very frustrated. I don't know if you saw the clips, but he was like yelling at the coach on the sideline to get me the ball. He was real frustrated. And I think it was really smart of Kenny Pickett to not target, like when you're facing Atlanta and you have AJ Terrell on one side, and then we were supposed to have Casey Hayward.
Yeah.
Was that okay?
Yes.
Yeah, Cam Hayward is defensive tackle for the Steelers. I get him confused.
Hayward.
We were supposed to have Hayward at the other corner, and he was really solid too. But like, why force the issue and why throw it Terrell if you don't have to?
Right.
So I think that he did well to not force the ball anywhere on Sunday. But I mean, there were several that he threw at guys' feet.
Yeah.
Very similar to Justin Fields. It's like, there are throws that it's like, okay, that was a really good throw. And then there's throws that it's like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
I can see that.
So just still not very consistent at all.
Still a rookie,
but
though. Still a rookie.
Still a rookie. Yeah, still a rookie.
Starting, I think, his like 7th game at this point, maybe 8th.
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't know. I don't know why I continue to defend Pickett as much as I do.
You love Kenny Pickett. Be a Steelers fan, I guess.
Maybe I should be.
Hey, you get to keep the yellow.
Submit my application for Steelers fandom. Get me a terrible towel and everything. No, I cannot do that.
It's a good franchise, man.
Yeah.
Did that cut out when you said that?
I don't know.
Okay. It cut out for me, but
okay. I'll check.
Okay. Yeah, I have the Ravens in this one. I'm going to disagree with you. I just think that the Ravens behind Tyler Huntley is a better team than the Steelers behind Kenny Pickett. I don't know. See, now that I'm thinking about it, Steelers defense is really good, and I don't know what the Ravens are going to do on offense. I mean,
all right, so here's my question to you. Which defense would you rather have? Steelers or Ravens? I feel like you're thinking way more than you should about this.
I am. I mean, obviously the Steelers, but like I watched the Steelers.
So
like the game against Atlanta on Sunday kind of threw me a little bit because Atlanta, when they ran the ball, they were fine. The only reason they struggled was because Marcus Mariota can't accurately throw a pass.
Sounds like every other Atlanta game.
Right. If he had been, well, no, there's a lot of times that like there's nobody open. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's like he can't.
True.
You know, I'm not saying that he's electric other games, but like, there were several plays that it's like if he had hit the receiver, that's a first down, you know, or that's a touchdown, and so the Steelers defense actually underwhelmed me on Sunday. Okay. I wasn't super impressed. The Falcons only had like 28 or 38 rushing yards in the first half, but they just didn't. And I was like, everybody was like, why are you not running the ball? Then in the second half, they started running the ball, and it was like, now we're moving the ball down the field. It was dumb. I was like, I have no idea.
Which receiving core would you rather have in this one? Between
absolutely the Steelers.
Devin Duvernay and whoever else.
Right.
And yeah, okay. And then which running back committee would you rather have?
I mean, I guess the Steelers.
So all signs are pointing to the Steelers.
But then look at their record, man. Like,
But it's because of Lamar Jackson. It's because Lamar Jackson is a better and more experienced quarterback than Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky.
but like, has he been?
He has been.
Like,
He's played very well at times and then very poorly at other times. And the Ravens defense is good. I think that's the closest is the Ravens defense and Steelers defense. I don't think there's a clear separation there. Also, the tight end, Mark Andrews, is far superior to any other receiver that will be on the field on Sunday in this game. So that's all part of it. But
man,
also,
I'm sticking with my gut. I think these teams have the record they have for a reason, and I don't think that the gap between Lamar Jackson and Huntley is that big.
I mean, you're taking away a big, like, explosive area of the offense when you go to
right,
Huntley.
but you're also adding in a different dynamic.
That is true.
Like,
that is true.
Your whole playbook changes. You know.
Yeah.
Not that Lamar can't be a pocket passer. Lamar is a very accurate passer. One of the most accurate mobile passers we've ever seen.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't put him quite as high as Josh Allen, maybe last year. Josh Allen, I mean, even this year, he's still accurate.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm still sticking with the Ravens in this one. I think that the Ravens are. I think they're better coached slightly.
That's a maybe.
Better.
It's kind of a
better
toss
special
up.
teams. You got Justin Tucker out there.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's not as clear cut as you think. All right.
I agree. But
Taking the Ravens.
I just feel good about this Steelers team, man.
That's fair, man. That's fair.
You know,
there's a lot to like on that Steelers team.
I've been a strong vocal supporter of them for over a year now for some reason. I have no reason to be as high on the Steelers as I am. But I am for some reason.
Somebody who was adamant that they were frauds last year.
Was it? No, not last year. 2 years ago. That's because they were. But they got rid of old man Roethlisberger and TikTok Juju. So, you know, the times they are a changing in Pittsburgh. Let's move on to a spicy divisional matchup. Last time these two teams met, things went a little differently than most people expected. We've got the New York Jets flying
on this podcast who things went exactly like they expected.
Flying into Buffalo this time around with Mike White at the helm. Allegedly still. I don't think they've officially made a switch. Heading into Buffalo, take on the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo, 9.5 point favorites. I think that might be a little high considering the last outcome between these two teams, but maybe Vegas knows more than the rest of us. I have the Bills in this game because I think the Bills are at this point maybe better at learning lessons from previous matchups. I have nothing to base that on, but I don't know. I just feel that way.
Okay.
I think they're gonna take away. I think they're gonna take a long, hard look at how things went. A couple weeks ago when they met, and figure some things out, and just be better. So I've got the Bills. Who you got, man?
I think that we saw who White Mike really is. That
you say, but he did not play that badly. He did not play that badly.
A 59 quarterback rating. He had no touchdowns, 2 picks. He went 31 for 57, which is just over 50%. I mean, like a hair over 50%. And he threw the ball 57 times. Look, he's got to be tired. But I mean, he's just not it, man. Like
I don't know, man. I don't know about that.
What do you mean you don't know? The reason he got benched before is because he threw 4 picks in a game,
But he threw
and then he
two.
has one.
He threw 2 against a far superior defense in the Vikings than the Bears, which he faced previously.
And had a barely 50% completion percentage.
Listen.
And he's coming in against the Bills? Listen, man. You say listen.
If
Mike White gets listen, here's my shaker. Give me the shaker. Listen, Mike White, he's gonna get benched during the game. They're gonna bring out Joe Flacco.
Okay.
They're gonna bring out Joe Flacco
That might happen.
because he is gonna be Mike White is gonna throw 3 picks in the first half, and they're gonna be like, I can't, like, what are we doing here? So yeah, I think that although, I'm all aboard the Whitey train, but I think that he's proven that he is not an NFL quarterback. And, we thought last week, oh man, maybe, but he was playing the Bears. Like I know we both said it. Like it was against the Bears. And now he has to play against NFL defenses. So
but I still think there's no way that you can tell me Zach Wilson is better in that game against the Vikings than Mike White was.
I think that Zach Wilson's lows are not as low as White Mike's lows.
But I don't even think that was it wasn't a great game. I wouldn't even say it's a good game, but it's not a Zach Wilson bad game.
Excuse me. I need a minute. I need a minute to fact check this nonsense.
The dude threw for 370 yards. 370 yards.
Okay, it's because they were playing from behind. Like, it's that.
Sure,
like,
they lost by 5 points.
Thing.
They lost by 5 points to a 10-2 team. Like, it's not like you lost by 5 points to a 5-5 team. You lost to a very good Minnesota team that has a very good defense, and you didn't have a spectacular day. That's all it is.
Out of the top 10 quarterbacks last week, 5 of them, as far as yards go, 5 of them lost. Like winning and losing is not necessarily the go-to. But anyway,
what I'm saying is he was able to move the ball, and in my opinion, better than Zach Wilson could have.
Listen, Zach Wilson at this point of the season has thrown 4 touchdowns, 5 picks.
Yep.
Nowhere does he have a no touchdown 2-pick game. He does have a 355-yard performance where he completed for 48% of his passes against New England. But he had 2 touchdowns to go with his 3 picks. So maybe they're exactly the same.
I'm just saying that Zach Wilson is definitively worse, in my opinion.
I think that I don't think that I want either of them to be my starting quarterback.
That is a perfectly fair assessment.
I think I'd rather have Marcus Mariota.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
Marcus Mariota can at least run the ball.
But he also doesn't have to. Like, that's the thing. Like,
Mike?
If you had Mike, no, what I'm saying is if you had Mike White in Atlanta, I would say they might be doing better because he can actually throw the ball.
You're telling me that 50% completion boy is
against a very good defense. Marcus Mariota throws 50% against every defense.
That's true. No, he went 13 of 14 that 1 week.
1 week. 1 week. When I put him best in the booth and then regretted it almost instantaneously.
Oh, man. Yeah, he's not accurate at all.
Mike White throws 350 yards like every week.
Ugh. In losses. Well, he'd beat the Bears, I guess.
I'm just saying, we said it last week. These 2 weeks are going to be the test for him. And to me...
He failed the first one.
No, I don't consider that a fail. I consider that like a C- type game. It's not great. It's not a good score. But that's not a complete failure. That he did not... I mean,
no touchdowns, 2 picks.
That's not a complete failure. It's not a complete failure.
He got 59 out of 158.3.
Okay.
That's bad.
Listen, again, there's no way that Zach Wilson would be any better in that game. No way.
Maybe.
As long as your worst is not worse than what the second overall pick would look like, I think you're passing. You're not, flying high with all the accolades thrown at you, but you're passing. It's not a failure.
Technically, a 59 out of 158 is 37%. So he is actually failing.
According to the outdated passer rating scale. Moving on.
You want to go based on his QBR? You're telling me that you think his QBR from last week was admirable?
Oh, no, I'm sure it wasn't.
Because I can check that. That's a pretty easy, quick check. 23. You want to know who had a better QBR than he did last week? Deshaun Watson.
Okay. Deshaun Watson was also facing a Texans defense.
That's true.
Put Mike White out there against the Texans.
He would light him up.
Let's move on.
Him up, man.
Speaking of Deshaun Watson.
The great White Mike debate.
At 1 p.m. on CBS, we get old Massage Boy heading into Cincinnati to take on the rolling Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are 6-point favorites. I could argue that should be even higher. I think this team is clicking and getting hot at the right time in the season, and that's why I'm rolling with the Bengals, because the Browns are poo-poo, the quarterback is poo-poo, and I'm not picking them. Who you got, man?
Same. Ain't no way I'm picking undressed to your comfort level. And so give me the Bengals. I think that the Bengals, outside of Deshaun Watson, who I don't know is better than Jacoby Brissett at this point. I'm not saying ceiling. I'm not saying that Deshaun can't get better. I'm just saying right now, I think that the Browns would have a better shot at winning this game with Jacoby Brissett than they will whatever product Deshaun Watson is going to put out there, which we know Deshaun Watson is not afraid to put it out there. So give me the Bengals in this one.
Let's head on down to Texas for the Lone Star Battle. The crazy hype. Let's all get excited for this one. The Houston Texans.
I just saw the line for this game.
Coming in to face the Dallas Cowboys, who just put up a 50-burger on the Indianapolis Colts. The Cowboys are 17-point favorites. And somehow, ridiculously, the over-under is set at only 45. I think the Cowboys might score that all by themselves.
Right.
I'm picking Dallas. I'd be a fool to pick this Texans team. Who you got, man?
Also, the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not dumb. Okay, here's the real question. How many points would they have to give you to pick the Texans? Like, at what point are you like, I'd put $100 on that?
Ooh. I don't think I would ever put 100 on the Texans. But
if you gave me the Texans in 50,
if you gave me Dallas minus at least 21, I would consider putting like Hamilton.
Which one's Hamilton on?
A 10.
Okay.
I
saw the musical. But...
You want to know how I know that? How I always remember this for some stupid reason is from the Lazy Sunday Saturday Night Live sketch. Girl acting like she never saw 10 before. It's all about the Hamiltons, baby.
Oh my gosh.
Just a fun fact into how my brain works, apparently. Anyways, both picking the Cowboys.
Is that all lazy? Is that all what are they called? Lonely Island?
Yeah, that was like the first one that like exploded.
Okay.
Lazy
Wake
Sunday.
up in the late afternoon.
Call Parnell just to see how he's doing. Yeah.
That's the only reason I know who Chris Parnell is. I mean, I know who Chris Parnell is, but I didn't know his name before that song, and I was like, "Who is Chris Parnell?" I was like, "Oh, that guy." Okay.
What up, Parn? Joe Sandberg, what's cracking? You think of what I'm thinking? None of you make it happen. I know more of that song than I
That's
should.
a lot.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
Yeah.
It wasn't even one of their best ones. Like that's why I'm like, that's
it's
a lot
pretty
of that
good.
song.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Luna is going crazy over here, so
Okay.
I'm gonna have to go let her out or something.
I'm gonna also go out for a second.
Let's go, Lou. I cannot hear you.
What I said wasn't that important anyway.
All right.
I
don't know why I pointed to my headphones so that I couldn't hear you instead of just saying I can't hear you.
This is good content, man. This is that YouTube only content. Oh man.
Let's
good stuff.
Head on up to Detroit, where we have the Minnesota Vikings heading in to take on the Detroit Lions, who also dropped a 40 burger on the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday. I feel like this is got sneaky spice written all over it. Maybe even not sneaky at this point. I feel like most people should at least be aware that the Lions can put up some points on a lot of different teams. They took it down to the wire with the Buffalo Bills on Thanksgiving, and I have a feeling this game is going to be just as close, and maybe this one will swing in Detroit's favor. Currently, somehow, I don't know how this has happened, but Detroit are 2.5-point favorites over the 10-2 Minnesota Vikings. It's got to be the fact that it's a home game and that it's a divisional matchup, and maybe that's why Vegas is leaning towards the Lions. But I'm also going with the Detroit Lions. I've got them getting the upset over the Vikings. I just feel good about it, man. Who you got?
I don't feel good about it. I know. I understand. It's as I've been saying all year, it's a new era in Detroit.
As you have famously been saying since week 1.
Yes. I'm the one who started that. No, I'm still not all aboard the new era train, but I definitely will say it is a new era in Detroit for sure. It's been a while since we've seen a Lions team this good, which is a very, very sad sentence to say about a 5-7 team. But I still think
this Detroit team,
they're good.
I think they're good where they're at currently. The offense is one of the better offenses in the league.
Absolutely.
And they're probably going to have 2 top 15 picks in the first round.
Man.
Yeah, because of that Stafford trade.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I definitely I think this Lions team is a playoff team next year.
Oh, I mean, as long as they don't swing and miss with their draft next year,
Barring nothing crazy, I just think from a developmental standpoint. I mean,
yeah. But between
Aiden Hutchinson another year, Penei Sewell another year, maybe DeAndre Swift's able to get healthy for a while. Amon-Ra St. Brown,
Jameson
another year of
Williams.
development. Jameson Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is a very good Lions team. I think that they're in a similar boat to the Jets of like, it's just not quite their time.
Right.
But
I can agree with that. Yeah, I can agree with that.
But yeah, I just don't see the Lions as, they're not closers. Like that's one thing that this Lions team is not, is they are not closers. And I think that you've got to be a closer to beat this Vikings team. Even though it's at home, I understand that it's a division game. It's not an easy pick for me. I'm a little tempted to take the Lions, but I think that it's just these teams are just like in two different tiers, and I think that's going to show on Sunday. Even if it's a close game, I just think that they're just two different levels of football.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, yeah, that's a really good point about the Vikings, because the Vikings have played a lot of close games, and they've been the one to get the wins, because they know how to close, and the teams that play them close can't for whatever reason. But they do tend to play most teams close.
Yeah.
So if a couple of things bounce the Lions' way, especially in the final minutes of that game, I could see Detroit walking away with a victory. And I think it's going to be a good game regardless. I think it's going to be a back and forth type game, very similar to the matchup with Buffalo on Thanksgiving. So I'm excited for it. I think this has potential to be game of the weekend, but we'll see. Let's move on to the aforementioned Jacksonville Jaguars, who got walloped by the Detroit Lions on Sunday.
Yep.
We have them facing a team in a similar situation that just got walloped by the Philadelphia Eagles. The Jacksonville Jaguars heading into Nashville to face the Tennessee Titans.
Did you just say a similar situation?
In the fact that
getting walloped by the Lions versus getting walloped by the Eagles.
In the fact that they both got walloped. That's the similar situation. I'm not saying it equates to the same as getting your butt whooped by Detroit versus by the Eagles. I'm saying that you both got your butt whooped.
That's fair.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Tennessee are 3.5-point favorites at home against the Jags. That's fair. Tennessee's a better team. Part of me is tempted to go with the Jags because, I believe in the Titans 1 week, and then they go out and they no-show. And sure, it was against the Philadelphia Eagles,
right?
But it's a no-show nonetheless.
I tried to tell you, I'm as high as on this Titans team as anybody outside of the 3 stars that those stars on the Tennessee Titans flag stands for, all right, whatever that's called. It's a name, I think, but I don't.
There is a name for it. I'm going with Tennessee in this one. I'm not stupid. I can't pick Jacksonville. Who you got, man?
I'm also going with the Titans. They're a really good football team. They're just not the Eagles, right? Like they're a really good team, but they ain't got no Jalen Hurts back there. They're still rocking Ryan Tannehill.
They're 2 games better than the Detroit Lions, and they've had a much easier schedule.
Don't you Peter me right now and try to tell me that the Lions are better than the Titans.
I'm not saying that. I agree with you that the Titans are a good football team. Very, very good. Let's maybe take a step back on that. Again, they're 2 games better than the Detroit Lions, and Detroit has had probably the toughest schedule in the league.
I also just want to reminisce for a second that Peter once slap bet me that the Lions were going to be better than the Cowboys this year.
Yeah.
Remember this?
Yeah.
You remember this thing that happened?
You should have stuck with it instead of bailing when Dak went down in week 1.
Yeah.
That's
I just said it was nullified. I was like, I'm not. So yeah, I mean, who knew Cooper Rush was going to come in and be serviceable?
Yeah.
But anyway,
that
we're not talking about either of those teams. The Titans, they're good, man. They're good. They're not great, I never have said they're great.
I agree. They're
Really,
good.
they're good.
I'm just saying, let's maybe cool it on saying they're a very good football team. They're good. They're good. They're going to be in the playoffs because someone's got to win the AFC South. And I think the Titans are good enough to sneak out at least a victory in the playoffs. But as far as making a deep run, that ain't happening. That's out of the cards for them.
Probably not.
Let's move on to two other probable playoff teams. A nice divisional matchup in the NFC East. We've got the Philadelphia Eagles heading up to New Jersey rather, to face the New York Giants. The Eagles on the road, 7-point favorites. I do not have faith in this Giants team.
No.
I've said it before. Even when they were rolling, I think at one point they were like 6-2, something like that. But I've said it most of the season that I do not have faith in this team. I think they have talent. I just don't think they can play like they have talent every week. So for that reason, I'm picking the Eagles because the Eagles are far superior and are probably going to wipe the floor with them. Who you got, man?
Yeah, the only thing that the Giants have better than the Eagles is Saquon Barkley.
Yes.
I mean, that's the only area. If literally any other position on the football field, give me what the Eagles have over what the Giants have. So give me the Eagles in this one.
Well, let's head on out to Denver where we have the Kansas City Chiefs coming off a loss to Cincinnati. I think that most people talk about the Chiefs and the Bills out there in the AFC, and the Bengals went in to that game on Sunday and said, "Hey, look, we're still here too." And maybe the Chiefs, weren't expecting that. Maybe
Patrick Mahomes can't beat Joe Burrow. Can't do it.
Joe Burrow is the only quarterback to beat Patrick Mahomes 3 times at this point. Which is
crazy.
weird that they say that about quarterbacks, because quarterbacks don't actually face each other. But irregardless, the Chiefs.
Same with pitchers in baseball. They're like,
Yeah.
this is the pitchers, and it's like, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess technically in the National League for a long time they did face each other.
Not
a
no
couple
mo.
times.
Not no mo.
Not no mo.
Chiefs heading into Denver to take on the Denver Broncos, who are probably going to fire their head coach in about 5 weeks. At least they should. Chiefs on the road, 9.5-point favorites. I could argue this could be much higher, probably in the 12 to 13 type range. Although the Broncos defense has been very good, this Chiefs offense is incredible and explosive against almost everybody.
Right.
So I've got Kansas City rolling in this one. Who you got?
I think that line is probably fine just because of how low scoring Broncos games are.
Sure.
Broncos, they don't score a lot and they don't allow their opponents to score a lot. But I'm not dumb. I still have the Chiefs in this one. And who knows? Maybe this is the game that the Broncos, but I don't see the Chiefs losing back-to-back games.
If the Chiefs lose to this Denver Broncos squad, that will be the single biggest upset of the season.
I don't know about that.
The single biggest upset.
Well, listen, no, because division games are always tough.
It's the Broncos, though.
I understand, but it's still a division game. Division games are different. These teams know each other too well.
Do they? With a new head coach and a new quarterback that have only played this Chiefs team once? I don't even think they played once this year.
But everybody else knows them. The rest of the coaching staff, all of the other players, they all know them.
Yeah, but head coach and quarterback are the two most important pieces of the team.
Are they though? Are they? Though?
I'm not okay. I'm not fully disagreeing with you. It's a divisional matchup. Sure, they're whatever.
That's why I'm saying it wouldn't be. I'm not saying that it's going to happen. I'm just saying it wouldn't be incredibly shocking to me just because it is divisional. It would be more shocking to me for the Chiefs to lose to the Texans or the Panthers or something. It would be like, what? You lost to the Panthers?
I feel like the Panthers have more going for them than this hobbled Broncos team right now.
I mean, they literally don't.
I think they do. Their record says differently.
Their defense is the Broncos' defense is better than the Panthers.
Oh yeah, 100%. But the Panthers' offense is better than Broncos' offense.
Kind of.
Definitely. Not kind of.
That's like saying that
Broncos offense is the worst in the league. They're terrible.
That's like saying that this drunk guy is a little bit better driver than the other drunk guy. Like, it's like neither one should be behind the wheel of a car. So
I agree.
Why?
But to me, losing to this Broncos team where they're at currently would be a far bigger upset.
Meh. Agree to disagree.
Doesn't matter, though. Because it ain't going to happen.
It's not.
Moving on. 425 over on Fox. We have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers heading in to San Francisco to take on the San Francisco 49ers, which I guess will be having Brock Purdy as their quarterback. I don't think they have any other option at this point. And somehow, even with Purdy as their starting quarterback, they're 3.5-point favorites because this Buccaneers team is stinky, garbage, trash that somehow the New Orleans Saints, despite having a 13-point lead on them
hilarious
in the final minutes, said, you know what, Tom? We're just going to hand an important divisional game over to you. We're just going to hand this victory to you. You can have it. We don't want it. Go out and be 6-6 and probably sneak into the playoffs because the rest of the division's garbage. I hate it. I hate it so much. I was hoping I didn't want either team to win, but I was hoping the Saints would get it done because Tom Brady has been terrible this year, and people are still saying, oh, this is Tom Brady. I trust him. This is the guy I want leading my team in the playoffs. No, Buccaneers are garbage. The Niners are going to wipe the floor with them, hopefully, on Sunday. I am worried about Purdy being their starting quarterback, but it looked good on Sunday against the Dolphins, and if he can do it again against the Bucs, I'm here for it. Who you got, man?
Listen, Purdy doesn't even have to be Purdy good. Like he's got CMC next to him. He's got Deebo Samuel. If I'm Shanahan, run some direct snaps to either of those guys.
Yep.
Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, they might be better at quarterback than Brock Purdy is. But yeah, I'm with you. I've got the 49ers in this one. I think that they're a better team. I would love to see I feel bad saying that. I'm not going to say that. I would love to see Tom Brady just on the ground for most of the game. That's what I want to see. I want to see him angry. I want to see tablet chucking Tom Brady. I want him to look like the toddler he acts like and just limp off the field at the end of the game. That's what I want to see.
If Bosa does to him what he did to Tua on Sunday, that could happen. That's a very real possibility.
Yeah. So, that I'm looking forward to. I would love to watch this game for that reason. Is I want to see him suffer. That's what I want to see. Which is, I was going to say not fair, but I mean, he's not quite to the scumbag level of a Deshaun Watson, but like he's still pretty scummy. Like Tom Brady's a scumbag too.
Should have stayed home with your wife and your kids. But nope.
Idiot.
You had to come back and play football, and now you ain't got no wife.
And now you're in the NFC South, which I said it in the Discord. I think that really just replace the NFC South with the college football playoff teams. Just swap them out. Say, you know what? Now these college football teams are professional teams, and the Falcons, Panthers, Saints, and Bucks are now college football teams.
Just relegation. That's what we need.
Yeah, man. That's what we need. That's what the NFL needs. Gosh, how many times would the Houston Texans and Browns, they would not even be,
Just take the XFL, the USFL, combine them into a 16-team league, and then have relegation between that and the NFL. That would fix a ton of issues.
Everything.
Fix everything. The Houston Texans can go be the darlings of the USXFL. But I don't want them in my NFL. They're terrible.
UXFL.
Sure.
What? Wait, that was a long rant. Give me the 49ers in this one. I don't remember where we went off the rails.
I don't know.
Just
we're both taking the Niners because we're not stupid. Let's head on up to Seattle. We have the Carolina Panthers clawing their way out to Seattle to take on the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks are 3.5-point favorites because Vegas would be morons to make Carolina favorites in any game, unless they're playing probably the Texans. And even then, that's a coin flip.
Yep, probably a tie.
3.5 point favorites for Seattle. I think that you can make that probably a little bit higher, maybe 5 points, maybe 6. I think the Seahawks should, in theory, easily win this game. I think they're definitely the better team. But that Panthers team has been scrappy the last couple of weeks, and
especially their defense has stepped up a whole lot the last couple of weeks.
They've been in games and snuck out a couple games that they probably shouldn't have, and so it could get interesting. But
but weirdly, they're 0-5 away.
Well, then I'm definitely taking the Seahawks. I mean, there wasn't really a question mark in my mind, anyways. But 100% taking the Seahawks. So yeah, who you got, man?
Yeah, also gonna take the Seahawks. I actually was kind of tempted to take Carolina in this game. I just don't like the matchup.
Go for it. Do it, man.
No.
Spicy.
If it were in Carolina, I probably would take the Panthers just because I think that if you can slow down this Seahawks offense, you've got a pretty good shot at winning the game.
Yeah.
Because their defense is not great.
Yeah, you're gonna score points on them for sure.
Yeah. So that's why I was kind of tempted, and I wouldn't be shocked if the Panthers won on Sunday. Again, just because it's a matchup issue, but I went with the Seahawks because they're the home team.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, let's move on to Sunday Night Football. This game got flexed into Sunday Night Football because some other game that was probably garbage was there instead. And now we get the Miami Dolphins.
Do they just leave it blank, though? Is that what they do? Do they just leave it blank and then decide what they're going to put in there? Because I think otherwise we would be hearing about games that weren't there.
No, there was another game. I know that in week 18, the last week of the season, they do that. But there was initially another game scheduled. But they only seem to do it for Sunday night games. So, like, obviously Monday night games never get flexed, and Thursday night games never get flexed. And I think that has more to do with, like, traveling plans and rest plans that have already been made or whatever. But at least the NFL is trying to fix some of these Sunday night primetime matchups, and I think we got a pretty good one on Sunday. We got the Miami Dolphins heading out to SoFi to take on the Los Angeles Chargers. I think this could be a fun one. I'm not going to say it's sneaky good or even necessarily going to be a great game, but it could be fun. This Chargers team is good but banged up, and the Dolphins, I think, are going to be a little peeved off about what happened on Sunday against a Niners team that they were definitely at times putting themselves in a position to win, and they just couldn't do enough. But on the road, Miami 3-point favorites out in LA. Who you got, man?
Yeah, I got the Dolphins.
I don't know if I said who I got, but I got the Dolphins.
You didn't.
Also.
I figured you did. We're not crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Chargers, again, just a little too banged up. Justin Herbert's been playing well. Keenan Allen is looking like himself. Austin Eckler's having a great year.
Yeah.
They're just a little too banged up.
This is one that I wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers get the upset. I think they're definitely good enough to do it. But like you said, they're just banged up. That's been their story all season. And
the Dolphins are very good.
The Dolphins are very good. Tua has been exceptional whenever he's been their quarterback for most of the season. Really the one slip up he's had all season was against the Niners on Sunday.
That's the only game that they've lost with him not as the starter.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel good about the Dolphins. They're a very good team.
I mean, with him as the starter. That's
yeah. I got you.
Y'all know what
I knew what you were saying. That's fun though. We get 2 SoFi games in primetime this week.
Wow.
Get to look at that beautiful, beautiful stadium. That might be one of my favorite stadiums in the NFL.
The jewel of the NFL.
I mean, it is.
SoFi Stadium.
It's something special.
It is party.
Let's head on over to Monday Night Football. We have the New England Patriots heading out to the desert to take on the Arizona Cardinals. On the road, this Pats team, 1-point favorites. 1-point favorites. We've talked a lot about the Broncos needing to fire their head coach. I think the Cardinals are in probably the same boat. I think it's time for Cliff Kingsbury to go. The old Cliff experiment did not work out. They've looked good at times over his tenure, but they have not looked good for a full season. And this is just another one to add to the books. This team is definitely in a kind of weird limbo state of, well, you got some talent, but you're not putting it all together. And there's just a lot of question marks. So it's time to make some changes. Definitely expect old Cliffy boy to be getting the can on Black Monday. And in this game, I have the Pats because I think they're better positioned currently. I think they're probably a better team, although that game against the Bills on Thursday night worries me a lot about them actually being able to compete with the big dogs. But luckily, this Cardinals team is not a big dog type NFL team. So who you got, man?
They got a Chihuahua for a quarterback. Give me the Patriots in this one. I think that I think they're a much better team. I think this Patriots team is a sneaky good team. I would put them maybe even potentially on the same plane as like the Titans in that like they could probably ruin just about anybody's day, but they're also not likely to ruin like the top 5 teams' day.
Right. Right.
But everybody under that, they probably would.
Yeah.
So I think that they're a gritty, defensive-minded team that's going to run the ball down your throat and not make Mac Jones do too much. And against this Cardinals team, they're bad, man. They're bad.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not going great out there in Arizona.
Nope.
But I think that front office is smart enough to make, the necessary changes going into next season and hopefully, get them back to a contending type level, because that's a team that has talented enough pieces to where they should be in a better position than they are. But we'll see what happens. Well, that wraps up week 14. Now you know everything that's going to happen. We just told you. We told you how all the games are going to go. Don't listen to the ones that Blake disagreed with me on. He's not the brightest.
There's only 2.
He's not the brightest person on this podcast. I'm definitely the smarter of the 2 of us. So
I am beating you in picks, though. So
I don't think that is. I mean, maybe it's true, but I don't think it's true. I think it's probably like 1 or 2 game difference.
I think I'm up to like 3 games difference.
I'm going to do the math tonight and figure this out.
I don't think
this is necessary and vital information. But as always, we appreciate you tuning in and listening. If you're watching us on YouTube, thanks for hanging out. Make sure you click that subscribe button. And if you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple, however you consume your podcasts, hey, we appreciate it. Thank you. We have some socials that I tend to say we don't use, but I found out that Twitter actually gets used. Because
I forgot. How did we miss this story all day?
Blake actually got blocked.
I got blocked.
Very good, Blake. You're doing wonderful work for our publicity by getting us blocked by the former Georgia Tech quarterback. So, shout out to you. I don't even remember your name anymore.
His name is Reggie Ball.
There you go.
And yeah, he didn't like that I pointed out that he made mistakes as a college quarterback. And I was not mean. I was not a bully. If you're interested, you can check out. Actually, don't think you can see it on our. Actually, you can, because he didn't block you. So if you go to our Twitter and look for the interaction with Reggie Ball, you can see that I did kind of dunk on him for being a bum and not playing in the NFL.
But weirdly,
he wasn't good enough.
Weirdly, initially, you tried to get him. He was looking for podcasts to go on to. You suggested he was
on Twitter begging for podcast spots, and I was like, "Hey, my buddy Hayden, he's got a podcast called Fourth and Wrong." And notably, one time while playing against the University of Georgia, Reggie Ball threw the ball away on 4th down. It was fourth down, late in the 4th quarter, like driving down the field, and instead of just trying something, just threw the ball out of bounds. Just threw it out of bounds. And then he looked like, okay, let's go again. And everyone was like, no, Reggie, that was 4th. Like, that was 4th. And so I said, Fourth and Wrong sounds like a great podcast for you to go on, which they're also a college football podcast. He wanted to talk Georgia Tech football. It made sense.
And they're a solid podcast. Like friends of the show, trying to get them a little, little business.
And he wanted to clap back at me, and just life advice: don't do that. Don't try to. I grew up in the hood, and if you bring that side of me out, you're gonna lose. So yeah, don't try to clap at me, because I will clap back at you. And he blocked me. He couldn't handle it. Grown man couldn't handle a little bit of. I was almost like borderline respectful. Couldn't handle it. Tapped out.
Yeah. So if you wanna catch up on all the drama going down on Twitter, I guess follow us. Blake seems to be pretty active over there. So
I get a lot of arguments about Marcus Mariota. I get a lot of arguments about Justin Fields. Occasionally I'll dabble in some like NBA arguments, but yeah, those are pretty much my sweet spots right there.
Well, as far as the rest of our socials, we don't really use them, but come hop into the Discord, follow us on Twitter. Yeah, and hey, as always, I think that's that.
That's that.
Solid episode.
That's a good one. Man, I'm so sad we didn't bring out the Reggie Ball story till the end. Oh, I forgot all about that, man. Because that was the day after all of. Are we still live on YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay. That was the day after I got in my other argument that you heard about.
Yeah.
Yes. So I was already like kind of beating myself up, having a bad day, and then I got in that argument. Then I got blocked by Reggie Ball, and it just it brightened up my whole day. I needed it. I needed that. So it was a good time.
Oh man. All right. I'm gonna get this edited down and get it uploaded.
All right. Yeah, Zeke is already looking forward to listening to it, because I told him we were doing it, and I was like, we can listen to it tomorrow. Which we never like listened, like we have before, but he doesn't know anything about the NFL.
Yeah.
But now he was like, can we listen to it tomorrow when you pick me up from school? And I was like, yeah, buddy, we can.